In a world where success is measured by how much we achieve, it's easy to lose sight of what really matters. We live in a system that celebrates constant productivity, but at what cost? For whose ends? Have you ever stopped to wonder if the very system that's pushed you to achieve might actually be costing you your humanity in the long run? I'm Dr. Andrew Smith, and welcome to Rewire, where we explore the intersections of mental health, meaning, joy, relationships in the modern world. Today, we're taking a deeper look at how corporate culture and a narrow view of success is driving us to exhaustion and what we can do about it. So, I want to start by just kind of setting up the equation. Very simply, on this seesaw, where productivity and well-being are in balance with one another. I'm taking a number of my cues today from a famous Wendell Berry essay entitled Nature is Measure. Much like Berry's argument about land and land use and what it means to build beautiful, thriving communities and lives full of meaning, many of us are being drained by a culture that values output over well-being. We're told to keep pushing to meet endless goals and to constantly improve. But the truth is, it's not sustainable. So let's juxtapose, compare the difference between these approaches. Diverse data points that are unique, multiply determined metrics of a flourishing, well life and society, versus monoculture, which uses simple, incomplete, myopic productivity numbers and measures that drain the people, the land, the communities that we're living in, that the money, that the culture monoculture that determines productivity, success, value based on very simple metrics that extract short-term gains from people and places and land and communities and ship the value of those things out to fill the bellies and bank accounts of administrative overhead, corporate culture, and things like shareholder value. So one leads to depletion versus these diverse, thriving lives and communities that are built on multiple data points beyond just productivity. So let me ask you, have you ever felt like you're running on empty, just trying to keep up with endless demands, being measured on metrics that are not your goals and values, that don't represent what you're doing, the work that you're doing in your life, the meaning behind that? So drop a comment below if you've experienced burnout like this, and let us know what keeps you going when you feel like you're losing balance. Have you ever experienced this lack of coherence between your values and the values of productivity? So Berry wrote about farms that once thrived with diversity and care, and that have now been overtaken by industrial farming practices that strip the land of its richness. This creates a monoculture. It removes humanity and local culture richness, sends your productivity away to faraway places, corporations, administrative overhead, big hospital systems, universities, law practices. Much in the same way, corporate culture can strip us of our joy. The metrics that aren't our metrics of joy and productivity, they strip us of connections and our sense of purpose. They remove our presence from our communities and send those resources to faraway places, taken away from deeper friendships, families, joy, and we trade our time for it. We trade our lives for it. The relentless pursuit of more sales, more productivity, more success. It leaves very little room for our emotional, mental, relational health, and it leaves very little room to care for each other well in our local communities, which is really what a lot of meaning and joy comes from. So I just want to move on to the next point, which is that more productivity eventually leads to a different pathway than the one that joy and meaning live on. I want to hear from you. What do you think is the hardest part of juggling your career and personal life? Is it finding time for relationships, giving yourself permission to rest, or find and develop interesting hobbies, ways of being that are joyful? Comment below. Let's talk about how we can start finding balance together. Mention some things maybe in the comments that you've been wanting to pursue, but that you feel like you've been so focused on being successful and productive in your work and career that you haven't really pulled the trigger on that thing. So, what if we started to shift measures of success, not only based on what we produce, which is still important for a thriving society and culture and life, but based on how we live? What if what we were producing wasn't for someone else's ends and goals and means solely? What would it look like to reclaim our relationships, our time, our joy? Wendell Berry's solution for farming applies to our lives too. We have to stop seeing ourselves as machines and our relationships as secondary and expendable and optional. Start treating ourselves like people, people who need connection, rest, purpose beyond productivity, people who need beauty, diverse skills and interests, places of connection far beyond work. What I want to suggest to you today is that for driven folks, I'm one of them, it's not about sitting still necessarily and not being productive, but it's about where are you going to put that productivity? Where are you going to put that life force and energy that you have? At Rewire, we believe that balance is possible. It starts by recalibrating what success for you means, both in your personal life and in your professional life. Taking time to nurture your emotional health, connect deeply with others, prioritize what really matters. It's not easy and it won't happen overnight, but the alternative is continuing down this path of burnout and disconnection. It's simply unsustainable. What purpose is your productivity really serving? Is there a way forward that's more balanced? The value proposition is no longer in our favor as people and as communities. Corporate gains that benefit someone, not you, not me, versus local well-being. And you could consider local well-being personal well-being for you. Local, right here in this close space that surrounds you, your sphere of influence. Have you ever tried setting boundaries with your work or taken time to recharge but felt guilty about it? Share your experience in the comments. Have you been punished for trying to set boundaries at work? Your story might just help someone else who's struggling with the same thing, because this model really thrives on isolation. It really thrives on keeping you working robotically. So you don't have to sacrifice your well-being for the sake of productivity. You can thrive in your career without losing yourself. I would suggest that your career might even flourish if you found yourself again in this. It's time to reclaim your humanity one step at a time. So if you're ready to take the first step towards reclaiming your life, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment about one small change you'll make today. We're here to help you find that balance, starting with your mental health, your relationships, investment in the sphere of influence that surrounds you, that matters most to you, which is really what meaning and purpose is built on.